Hello everybody, just a quick video on Japanese maple and the finickitiness of them. This is Japanese maple. It's an orange dream. It's supposed to be an orange dream. Was root pruned from a nursery pot into this pot in February, kept in the shade house, which is it's like a greenhouse frame with a netting over it to produce shade, but there's no actual glass or anything. It's done quite well. Had a bit of slug damage. I suspected it was slugs, and I came out with a torch and found slugs nibbling it. But generally speaking, it's fleshed out. It hasn't got a very good orange colour like orange maples usually do, but I think that's because it's been in the shade. So yeah, that one's done reasonably well, quite pleased with that. But there is a reason that Japanese maples are known to be tricky trees. Okay, this one was also done at the same time, had exactly the same treatment, and as you can see, this half of the tree has fleshed out quite nicely. You even have some orange tones at the top, and they've been sat next to each other on the bench in the shade house. But this half of the tree has just gradually died back, and this branch has also died back as well. We have had some very odd weather the last week or so. We've had some very hot days with some cold nights with frosts going down to about -2 in the overnight, and 23, 22 degrees centigrade during the day. And obviously this tree, only having been root pruned in February, could have been part of the reason that it just wasn't ready for those cold nights and those extremes of temperatures. But they're going to need some close eye on. Once I'm absolutely certain these aren't going to reshoot, it's going to need cutting back. I don't think they are, but I'm going to leave it. In comparison, this tree, which was done at roughly the same time, seems to be entirely hale and healthy. It's had exactly the same treatment from potting, kept in the shade house. Hence it's looking slightly anemic, but it's starting to throw out some green leaves at the top now. This particular species, whose name has long gone to the mist of time, like last week, has sort of cream and green and pink leaves naturally, and again it's looking quite healthy. So that hasn't bothered too much with the weather. And also I'll just put in a couple of pictures rather than video of my emerald lace and butterfly, which are just shooting now, as is the tree I grew from seed, which has the superb red autumn colour. They are just actually bursting into bud now, or bursting into leaf now rather, and they look quite hale and healthy. As I say, these have all been in the shade house. This is where it gets a bit unpleasant. As I was saying, viewers of a weak disposition may want to look away now. This is another orange dream maple. Now, Easter weekend, it's now Thursday the 16th. Easter weekend, this tree looked as fit as the others. It was sat on the bench outside because I didn't root prune it, and a combination possibly of the drying winds and the hot sun, cold nights have desiccated the tree, and it's just dying on me. But the other thought, because this tree wasn't root pruned and the roots weren't touched, was, have I got the dreaded vine weevil? Let me just give you a slightly closer look on the tree, so you can see quite how poorly it looks. These leaves are completely dried up and dead, and the top is now shriveled as well. Like I say, it could be a combination of the hot days, cold nights, could be the drying winds, they were quite persistent at times, and it could be vine weevil. Now, I have ordered some nematodes for this year. I always do them in April and September. I say always, last couple of years I've been treating them with nematodes April and September, and that does seem to have kept the vine weevil at bay mostly. But this year, who knows, maybe I've missed a couple or something. So I'm going to do an emergency repot on this tree, see if I can save it, just to double check to see if there are any of the wee critters in there. Hopefully the nematodes will arrive in the next couple of days, and I will just treat everything, all the pots, anything that's in a pot will get treatment with nematodes. Okay, so let's see if we can pull this out of the pot. And well, it has still got quite a big root ball, which is making me think it's probably not vine weevil, because normally when a tree droops this quickly with vine weevil, you usually find there are no roots left. So I'm surprised that it's drooped this quickly. Of course, it could be some other kind of disease. It's looking more likely at this point, though, that it's dried up and desiccated from those drying winds and cold nights, hot days. It's just sad, but maybe I can save it. So far, no sign of any critters. Well, that's a good thing. I have noticed, though, on a couple of pots and plants around about, that we do have the telltale notches on the leaves, taken out of the leaves, which is a sign of adult vine weevil. Which makes me think I've definitely got them some places in the garden, but not here by the looks of it. They usually show up quite quickly if they're around, and I've got a lot of healthy fibrous root here, so yeah, I'm disappointed almost not to find them, because that would have given me an easy answer. Okay, so best thing I can do with this is to try and get it into some fresh soil. I think I will get the hose and just give it a rinse off the roots, and then we'll pot it up into fresh soil. Okay, well, having washed the roots, you can see I have a dead root just there, so we will chop that out. As far as I can see, most of the rest of the roots look fairly hale and healthy at the moment, so there's another dead root just there. That root looks dead, but there's a living root next to it. Just take that out, and we'll try potting this up into some fresh, clean compost. going to trim off a whole bunch of this dead stuff that realistically is just going to drag the tree down. In fact, I'm going to cut that whole limb down to a leaf node there. Might seem a bit drastic, but this tree's going to die if I do nothing, so I may as well do something. So I can see a healthy pair of buds, or at least a place where buds will sprout from there. So for the rest of the tree, I'm pretty much going to defoliate it. There's a couple of spots just here and here where new leaves are coming out, and I'm going to leave those and we'll see what happens. But wherever the leaves are looking, I'm going to take that whole branch off and I'm going to prune that back. In fact, I have, let me lift it up to you. Fresh new growth there and there. I don't know how well you can see that, so I'm going to take off that entire section like so, and hopefully these shoots here and here will take off. As I say, if I don't do anything to this tree, then it's likely going to die. So the best thing to do is, what I can, take off a lot of this foliage that's just dying off, and hopefully the tree will save itself. And that's about all you can do. Sometimes when it's like this, Japanese maples can be very fickle, and they just will turn up their toes sometimes at the drop of a hat, and that's why many a beginner buys a Japanese maple, because they've seen them at a show or a country fair or something, and they have starter trees on sale and they'll buy one, take it home, try and bonsai it, and they are fickle and they will just turn their toes up, as I say, and then you're disappointed for life. I always say, if you want to start in bonsai, start with something you know that will grow if you throw rocks at it. Something like in our country, here in the UK, an ash, an oak, a field maple, if you want a maple, a sycamore, tough as old boots, and can take all sorts of abuse whilst you learn. So anyway, yeah, bittersweet video, but when I started my channel, I called it Sid's Trees, not Sid's Successes with trees, and I always said, I will show where a tree dies or is sickly, then I will show that as well, warts and all, as it were. I may not be doing the right thing with this tree, and some of you might say to me, you're doing a stupid job with that, and I can actually see, I'm not going to try and give you a close-up, but there is actually a little green fly on the trunk of this tree crawling up. So that's something that's probably contributed to the end of this tree if it's dying. Time will tell. We will come back and I will show you how this tree looks in a few weeks' time. In the meantime, thank you all for watching. Please look after yourselves and stay safe.